Well, good morning. Welcome to Bayview Church. So good to have you with us. I'm Chris, one of the pastors here, joined with Pastor Andrew and Pastor Richie. And yeah, we're doing this team teaching thing, something a little different just for the 3 Sundays we're together here in the month of December, looking through the 3 gifts that the wise men brought Jesus at his birth. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. Have a few things we want to make sure you're aware of, make sure you have all the information you need. The first one is this. Huge big deal. So last Sunday was our big give, and if you know what that is, it's one Sunday a year where we have decided we'll take all of the tithes and offerings that come in for that day and just give it all away. Every penny we will give away, and we give it to the people that you introduce us through your applications. And so as you see on the screen there, we received 62 applications for families and or individuals that could just use a little help right now during this Christmas season. And we always trust God to bring in whatever it is He knows we need in order to bless these families. And the reality is that's a lot more applications than what we've received in the past. And I know that God's always going to be good, right? So I told you before, and I think I misspoke. I had the wrong numbers because I don't do the counting numbers stuff. That's not my game. I think I told you that we had, like, our highest was like $70,000 before. The reality was, in 2023, our high mark was we gave away just right about $60,000 in 2023. And that was amazing. And so I see this stack of applications, and I'm like, all right, God, I know you're faithful. I know that our people are generous. I know that we're going to be able to do something spectacular. Can I just tell you this, that when we had the numbers come in and we gathered on that Monday night as a board, the final total absolutely blew me away, because the total that came in last Sunday that we are giving away completely is this figure right here, $98,201. I cannot tell you how special it is to know that we're part of a church family that is that generous and that sees the mission behind this, because this is about so much more than just money. Through the check, there is a message of hope. There's a message of love, that somebody has seen them and cares, and that Jesus loves them. And now we get the really fun part. We can start hearing the stories come back of the people's reactions and the conversations that ensue and follow. So, man, thank you for being such an awesome church, for just being so incredibly generous, and that we just get to see how God chooses to use this to let people know they're not alone. And right now, during this time of year, that goes a long way. So, well done, Bayview. Super proud of you. Yeah,
it's awesome. It's awesome. It's cool. It's just a tangible way for us as a church to say Merry Christmas to people. And we have tons of tangible ways to say Merry Christmas in the coming weeks. This coming Wednesday night at Youth, we have our Christmas Gala. There it is. Wow, in all its glory. Basically, this is our gift to the students, is really what this is. Christmas Gala, I can't really tell you what it is. The kids don't know what it is, so I can't let you know because you'll tell them. But basically, there's going to be live music. There's going to be performances. There will be a host. Those are things that I can tell you. It's dressed to impress. You take that for whatever you want it to mean. And the theme is yarn, which may or may not have anything to do with it.
Is that why there's cats?
That's why the theme is yarn, because of the cats.
Are there going to be cats at the party?
There will be no cats.
I got 2 if you need them. You can have them.
I'll pass. But it's just a wild time. It's a crazy night. It's always a blast, and it's just our way of saying Merry Christmas to the kids. So we'll do that this week.
Awesome. And correct me if I'm wrong, you've gone through a table before at a Christmas Gala.
I have. I was tackled through a table at Christmas Gala one time.
6th to 12th grade, you should be there. So another big thing that we have coming up this week is December 19th is our community movie night. So it's for families, and I think we're watching The Star and The Greatest Christmas Pageant Ever, which are 2 great movies. So again, this is for kids and families. Dress up in your Christmas PJs. There'll be snacks, all the stuff. We'll fit this place out ready to watch some movies, have a lot of fun. That starts at 6 p.m. right here, December 19th, which kind of leads us then into next week.
Yeah, next week. And before we get into that, I do need to pause and acknowledge that today is Ugly Christmas Sweater Sunday. So well done to all of you that have your Christmas sweaters on. If you're visiting, you're like, wow, this church is really festive. There's just this one Sunday we do this. I hope you're greeted by Jane Keene, who probably wins the contest with her wreath and lights and all that good stuff. I'm also discovering this. This is the hottest Sunday of the year. I am so hot right now.
Yeah.
Like in the first service at 9 o'clock, you were speaking, and I'm sitting here sweating. I'm like, am I convicted? Do I have malaria? What's happening? It's this Christmas sweater. So anyway, yeah. We're right up on top of Christmas, the Christmas week, which means two things. One, live nativity, the 22nd, 23rd, 6 to 8 p.m. Coming out, bring your friends. A lot of you are going to be in this cast. We have a meeting right after this service over on the other side of the facilities. We're excited because this is the opportunity to put Jesus into the lives of hundreds of people every night, many of whom don't go to church, many of whom have no other reason to know this part of the story. They celebrate the gifts and the parties and all that good stuff, but for this one night, we're going to tell them the real story of Christmas, and they get to hear about Jesus Christ. So we're excited. If you're coming out to one of those nights, know this, it's a full outdoor event, meaning there's no indoor events this year. There will be hot chocolate and goodie treats and all that good stuff. It'll be outside, so dress warm, and just come out to have a great time together. And then on the 24th, of course, is our Christmas Eve services. And there will be 3 this year, 2 o'clock, 3:30 and 5 p.m. They'll be right here in this auditorium. There's childcare available, the first 2 for ages 0 to 4. And let me just encourage you this. If you're those people that you know something starts at one time, and you roll in 5 or 10 minutes late, and you like to make that grand entrance, you know who you are. Anyway, that may not work at Christmas Eve. It's super packed. So get here, whatever church you come to, get here a little early so you make sure you can get your seat. And it is really one of my favorite services of the year. I don't know if it's because of the candlelight and just the way we wrap it up. There's just something so special. So invite your neighbors, your friends. It's going to be a really, really special night together. And then the next Sunday, December 28th, after all of that, we take a breather and we have what's called Church at Home. And that is a time where as a church we celebrate, we worship together from the comfort of our own homes. It means this: there are no live services here. So get up, make your coffee, make your little breakfast. You two have Christmas pajamas. I don't, so I guess I need to buy some. I don't know. But at 10 a.m., that service will go live on Facebook and YouTube, and then we'll be back together live January 4th. So all that is on our website. I know that's a lot going on, but it's just that time of year where it's super busy. And it's that time of year where we try and cram all this stuff together. It's also that time of year where we talk about the manger. We talk about Jesus and Mary and the birth of Jesus and all these things. And what we've chosen to do this year is to focus on the gifts, the 3 gifts that the Magi brought. And we've been looking at kind of what is the meaning of each of those.
Yeah, so last week we began the conversation, right, on, the Magi show up and they bring 3 specific gifts. They bring gold, they bring frankincense, and they bring myrrh. And we don't know how many, right? The Bible doesn't tell us how many wise men there were. We assume 3 just because there was 3 gifts, but there could have been many more. We don't even know the exact time of when they show up. They could have, our nativity scene would say they show up right when Jesus is born, which would have been wild for Mary. Or they showed up when he was 3, right? Either way, they've arrived. But what the Bible does tell us is they bring these 3 gifts. And so we've been taking the time to kind of work through what is the meaning of it. And so last week we spent our time together specifically talking about gold and just what was the meaning of these men bringing gold to Jesus and to his family. And in many ways we know that gold offers just value, right? There is something to where it was like a currency. And so in some ways maybe it was a financial gift, but if we go a step further and we look at the history of gold, there's a little bit deeper meaning to it. And we talked about this idea that in many cultures, like if we look at like the Egyptians, they believed gold represented God, right? Pharaoh, they either thought he was God or the son of God, and they represented him in their paintings and their writings with gold. In North Africa, it used to be illegal to own gold unless you were royalty. Right, so right away we see it as this God sense to it. There's a royalty, a king sense to it. Even in Rome at the time of Jesus' birth, they would print Caesar's face on gold coins, and they would worship Caesar as God. So in many ways, yes, there's a financial side of this gift, but there is also this reality that we see the wise men presenting to Jesus a gift signifying that in many ways they believed that he was a king, that he was royalty, and in many ways that he was God. So we ask the question then, okay, if you and I believe in God, what is a gift that we could give to him that would be worthy of a king? That would be worthy of someone with such high royalty who again, we believe is God. What is that gift we could give? And the answer, in the simplest forms possible, the answer is you, right? It is our lives. And we read from Mark 12:30, which says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. And that verse is this all-encompassing verse that when you break those four things down, heart, soul, mind, and strength, they represent you. Right, your heart, it's your passions and your desires, right, the things you care about. We talked about this idea of it's our moral character, right, our right and our wrong. It is our hopes and our dreams, right, so we would give those things to God. Our soul, it is the most valuable thing on this planet. Who you are, your identity is worth more than anything. Would you find your value and your identity in him, meaning would you give him your life? Your mind is your intellect. It is the way you think. Is the thoughts that run through your head. Are those thoughts that would be worthy of God? Are they of him even? And then we talked about our resources or our strength. And we really broke it down. It's our time, it's our treasure, and it's our talents. So it's the things that we can do, it's the things that we can give. And time specifically is probably our most valuable resource because it's the one thing that when you give or use it, you can't get it back. And the question was, is God getting the first of my time? Is he getting the first of my things, or is he getting what's left? Is he getting my garbage time? Is he getting just what I think is enough? And really the challenge was that we would have nothing withheld in our life, but we would simply say, God, open-handedly, this is yours. I need you to have this. This is the gift that I can give you. And whether we thought it was worthy of him or whether we thought it was worth it, we know that that is what he has asked of us, that we would give him our life completely. And so that was kind of gift one that we read about gold. And so this week, the narrative shifts to frankincense.
Yeah, and all three of us being pastors' kids, I know that there have been multiple times where we have played one of the magi or wise men in some sort of a Christmas play or pageant, and we've come and carried that little decorated shoebox that we didn't really know what it was supposed to be. We knew what gold was, but the other two, I was always like, I have no idea. It's strange. The reality is, as you learn a little bit about it, frankincense, it's a resin that comes from the boswellia tree. And the way they get it is they tap it. And so for us, I think that very much conjures that familiar imagery of tapping the maple trees. And there comes that time of year each year. I don't even know what time of year that happens. Is it fall or... I don't know. We're from California. I don't know. I just thought it came from Safeway or from Aunt Jemima. I don't even know. But I did get invited out several years ago to a friend of mine's farm. His name's Bob, and he's got this property way out south of Traverse City, and he had tapped just dozens of these maple trees, and he had all this tubing, and it was all flowing down to what he called his sugar shack. And I went in there, and there was this big vat. It was just boiling maple syrup right out of the tree. It was incredible. And then he totally one-upped it all. He took a pack of hot dogs and he dropped them in the syrup, and he boiled our hot dogs in the syrup for lunch. Let's go. I don't even care if you don't like hot dogs. You're going to eat that hot dog boiled in fresh maple syrup. I'm just telling you right now. It was amazing. So, so that's what I think of when I think of they're draining these trees. And so that's where the frankincense comes from first. It comes out of this white milky substance, and they let it dry and it forms a resin, and then it is ready to be used for whatever the purpose it is. The reality is this, that frankincense is still used today. In fact, you can go and you can buy frankincense. For example, this morning I went to Meijer, and I bought a little jar of oil of frankincense. Now, frankincense is expensive, which is why this is a 20% oil blend. So this is probably 20% frankincense and 80% vegetable oil or something like that, or Pam, yep. Right? So, but I got something else for you guys. Check this out. I got us a frankincense candle.
Cute.
right? Oh, cute. Did you see that? Cute. I don't know if it's cute. I'm gonna light it though. So we're gonna have a little. We're gonna kind of enjoy candles, or that's a Christmassy thing, right? So what they would do. I mean, now what you'd have happening. Maybe I'm gonna light it. There we go. Now frankincense is used in a lot of ways, a lot of medicinal ways or healthcare ways. It's an essential oil. It's used as a sleep aid. It's a calming element. Some people use it. It can maybe reduce wrinkles. There's all those different ways where I think we see it in kind of that health world. It's used sometimes even now in more Orthodox churches, which really is a callback to where it started. It started being used under the direction of God himself in the Old Testament for the priests. And the priests were to use frankincense in a very specific way. So we see that happening in Exodus 30. And in verse 34, it says this: Then the Lord said to Moses, gather fragrant spices, resin droplets, mollusk shells, the galbanum, and mix these fragrant spices with pure frankincense, weighed out in equal amounts. Using the usual techniques of the incense maker, blend the spices together and sprinkle them with salt to produce a pure and holy incense. What a cool word or phrase, pure and holy incense. Grind some of the mixture into very fine powder and put it in front of the Ark of the Covenant, where I will meet with you in the tabernacle. You must treat this incense as most holy. Never use this formula to make this incense for yourself. It is reserved for the Lord, and you must treat it as holy. So now we begin to see the regard this frankincense is held in, is that in the Old Testament, it was only the priests who could take this and burn it before God. And it must have smelled good, because he tells them, like, listen, you may be tempted to use this for yourself. This isn't like the potpourri in your little crock pot on your kitchen counter. This is not for you. This is reserved for me. And when these priests did this, we know that because it says, take it to the Ark of the Covenant, it means this: the burning of frankincense only happened in the part of the tabernacle called the Holy of Holies. Only the priests could enter the Holy of Holies, because that's where the presence of God would be. Only the priests could even be near the Ark of the Covenant. In fact, there's another story in the Old Testament where they're carrying the Ark of the Covenant and it starts to tip, and you weren't even allowed to touch it. Someone just trying to help it not fall over stops them from falling over, and as soon as they touch it, they die. This is not like a punishment. This is God saying that holiness is to be set apart, and I am holy. And so now we have the value. Now I think we begin to understand the power of what would happen. These priests would come into the Holy of Holies, and there'd be nobody else around. And there would be the Ark of the Covenant. And they would take this spice, this offering, and they would begin to burn it. And I can just picture the smoke begin to rise up, as it's like our prayers and our offerings. It was an offering to the Lord. The power of the Magi bringing this to Jesus is highlighted in Hebrews 4. Because yes, Jesus was our king, and that's why they brought him gold. They brought him frankincense because he also is called our high priest. And of course, they're going to bring him frankincense.
Yeah, and as we were thinking about frankincense this week and thinking about Jesus as our high priest and the purpose of frankincense in this oil mixture that they would burn, this idea came to mind that the smell of that aroma of that frankincense burning, of this mixture burning, was a representation of the significance of being in the presence of God. And so when these priests would smell this smell, it only meant one thing. It only evoked one sense to them, and that was to be in the presence of God. And I began to think about how little I consider my sense of smell. I think of all my senses, it's probably the one that I think about the least. It's probably the one that I personally would believe I use the least. And I really didn't think about my sense of smell hardly at all until COVID came and I lost my sense of smell. And it was kind of in that moment of realizing, oh man, like smell's kind of an important thing. I guess I'm smelling a lot more than I thought I was. But I think this time of year is like a smelly time of year also. Like Christmas time, there's a lot of smells that only happen, or at least only happen for me at Christmas time. Like I think of the fact that like all year round, I don't go and like sniff pine trees. But if you have like a real tree at your house, I will find a moment when kind of no one's watching and I will go like sniff your tree, because it's just like It's just like a Christmas smell, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like a magical moment. There's the lights and the ornaments and there's presents, and it's just like that of the Christmas tree. And I thought also this week about every year we would go to my grandma's house. My grandma Eddie, my mom's mom, she would make Christmas cookies, and we would decorate them. We would come, and as the whole family would get together, we'd pick a date, we'd show up at grandma's house, she would make all the cookies, and we would come and we would frost all the cookies. And it was this moment where all the cousins, aunts, uncles, everybody was together in one place, and we would just have this moment together at Christmas time where we just were a family. And we were unified together, and we had fun, and we laughed, and we listened to Christmas music, and we made the cookies, and we ate the cookies. And no matter what was going on in my life or in the world around us, it was like it all faded away in that moment. And the second you walk in the door and you get that smell, it's just like, oh man, it's all good. We made it to grandma's house for cookies. And my wife makes those cookies still. And every year she makes cookies, and we decorate them as a family. And every time I get that smell again, I'm reminded of those moments in my life. And I'm reminded of family, and I'm reminded of the love that we shared together and the times that we can spend together. And the reality about smell is that the aromas of our life are important because they take us to places. They remind us of things. They help us to stay grounded. They provide a context for our memories and for the parts of our life that are significant to us. And that's so true at Christmas time. And so when I think about the life of a priest, there were these smells that were significant to them. The smell that they would burn this incense with the frankincense, the smell of what it was like to burn a burnt offering before the Lord. All of these smells had meaning and had purpose and had significance in their life as a priest. And in their life as a priest, they were a direct representative of the people to God. And they represented God to the people. And so Jesus shows up, and they give him this gift of frankincense full of faith that he was the great high priest promised in the Old Testament. And Jesus is God with us. That's what makes him so great in comparison to us, is that he is God. And so Jesus is God on earth, not the representation of God, but God himself on earth. And he walks the earth, and he lives this life that has a sweet aroma to the Father. And in the same way that these priests would have burned this incense to give this sweet aroma that belonged only to God, Jesus lived his life in such a way that his life was an offering to God that only belonged to the Father. We see this over and over again in the way that Jesus lived his life. Jesus was a person who was characterized by love and faithfulness. He was characterized by goodness. He was characterized by empathy and kindness. That was the aroma of his life. That was the life of service that he offered to the Father. And we see this all the way to the point of death. When he comes to the garden, he says, God, if this cup could pass from me, please let it, but your will, not mine. And Jesus is willing to go to the cross, to die a brutal death, not for anything he deserved or earned, but for all of the wickedness that we had brought into the world, for all of the death that we deserved and had earned. But even in that moment, that sacrifice, that surrender that Jesus lived in, that humility that Jesus lived in, was an aroma to the Lord. It was a gift, an offering up to God the Father. And really that offering, that gift, it starts from a place of humility with Jesus. Philippians tells us about the humility of Jesus, that he would come to the earth and become one of us, that he would become a human. And he could have shown up on a horse with a crown and a sword. He had every right to do that. But instead he came as a baby, and he empathized with us, and he lived like we have lived. And now for those of us who have put our faith and trust in Jesus, Jesus as the great high priest has invited us into this community of priests. 1 Peter says it this way, 1 Peter 2, 4 through 5. As you come to him, the living stone rejected by humans, but chosen by God and precious to him, you also, like living stones, are being built into a spiritual house to be a holy priesthood, offering spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God through Jesus Christ. You see, here Peter talks about this truth. Jesus is the cornerstone. The cornerstone is the stone that the rest of the building is built around. It's the one that becomes true, that becomes the 90-degree angle that all the other straight lines are based off of. And beginning with Jesus, we have this spiritual house or this temple that is being built up. And each one of us, as we put our faith in Jesus, are a stone being added to that building. A stone being made right according to the cornerstone and being built up into this spiritual building. And part of that is we become like a priest. In the same way that the temple was the presence of God on the earth, we, the church, the people, are the demonstration of God's presence on the earth now. And so everywhere we go, we are going as ambassadors, as priests out into the world. And based on how we live our lives, we're telling people what God is like. And that's kind of, for me, a humbling thing to think about. That the way that I act at the grocery store is telling somebody what God is like. The way that I act at work, the way that I act at school, the way I interact with my family, the way I drive my car is a representation of what God is like, because I've been invited to become part of this living temple. I've been invited to become part of this house of God. I've been invited to become a priest underneath the authority of Jesus Christ, the great high priest. And so everything I do matters, and the way that I do things matter. And the reality of that is this. It is so easy for me, especially this time of year, to get busy, to get focused on things, to stuff I have to do, places I have to go, people I have to see, and for me to become an impatient person, for me to become a person who's just rushing around and missing moments and missing opportunities in my life, just trying to get to the next thing. The reality is, God is inviting me, he's inviting all of us into this moment where, just like Jesus, we can live with a level of humility where we surrender the moments of our lives to him, where we offer our lives as a living sacrifice to him, where we say, I'm going to go to the grocery store and I have this list and I've got to get it done in this amount of time, but God, help me to do it in a way that's honoring to you. God, I have to go to work today. I have this project that's due before I leave for vacation on Friday. Would you help me to just work in a way that's honoring to you? And that's really what the surrender is. I think sometimes I think of surrender or sacrifice as this thing where I don't get to have any fun. I have to make my life hard so somebody else's life can be good. And I can get caught in that sense of oh, poor me, I have to give things away. But the truth is, when we give our lives completely to Jesus, when we give the moments of our lives completely over to him and to his will, we receive a life that is so far beyond anything we could make for ourselves. Jesus says that if we will give our lives to him, yes, it will be difficult, but that it will be an abundant life, and a life worth living, a life worth having. And so that's where we are this Christmas season. Is these three wise men, or however many, they offer this frankincense to Jesus, acknowledging him as high priest, and I think also acknowledging that they are surrendering themselves to him. They're sacrificing before this great high priest. And we are being called into that same lifestyle of surrender and sacrifice, that the moments of my life would belong to God, so that as I go about my way, people would know and understand who God is based on how I live my life. And man, that's a great thing and that's a beautiful thing, but that's also a serious thing. And really it begs the question, what is the aroma of my life?
Yeah, and I think the idea of smells and them drawing you to places and almost like a call. It's I think of this time of year, with it being the smell of the cold air reminds me of basketball season, or the smell of rain, or Christmas morning when my wife makes these sourdough cinnamon rolls with homemade icing. There's just something that's wow, something drawn to. I remember as a child walking into the house after practice or school or whatever it would be, and I could smell the Swiss steak my mom was making in the crock pot, which is basically hamburger patties and gravy. But it smelled so good. Or there'd be times when you walk in and I could smell tuna noodle casserole, which is tuna and noodles and cream of mushroom soup. And I was yo, we're not eating good tonight. And so there was love you, Mom. But there's this reality of there are smells, right, that draw us in, but there are also smells that can push us away. And that is the question, I think, when you say, what is the aroma of our life? It begs the question for you and I this morning of, am I someone, by the way I live and the aroma I give off, does it draw people to Jesus, or does it make it really easy for them to reject him and to keep them away? And that's kind of what we have to wrestle with in this moment. Is how am I living my life that would say, man, this is all God, and my life is an example of him. And I think in Scripture, because for you and I, it goes that step further of what is the sacrifice of my life? What is the thing that I'm holding on to, like we talked about last week, that he needs to have, right? Nothing withheld, right? He can have it all. And so in John chapter 12, at the very beginning, we read this story. In John 12, it says, 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, where Lazarus lived, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. Here a dinner was given in Jesus' honor. Martha served, while Lazarus was among those reclining at the table with him. Then Mary took about a pint of pure nard, an expensive perfume, and she poured it on Jesus' feet and wiped his feet with her hair, and the house was filled with the fragrance of this perfume. That story, the beauty of that story is first, I love the imagery of them spending time together, and you have Mary pouring out this perfume. And the story goes on that as she pours it out and that fragrance fills the room, it begins to draw the attention of all those in the room. And one of the disciples, as he begins to realize what's going on, Judas, he makes the statement of, why are you doing this? Why are you wasting that perfume, right? The value, they say, is at least a month, if not many months' wages. That's how valuable this was, that she was wasting it by pouring it out on his feet. But the scriptures say that they are drawn to what is happening in this moment. Even a step further in this story is the reality of Mary uses her hair to clean Jesus' feet. You realize in this time that the women's hair, the beauty and the kind of like the reality of how much that meant to the identity of a woman, that she would use that to clean his feet with. What we're finding is a beautiful image of sacrifice. And if you know anything about the Bible, and specifically with Mary, is Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, they are deep, intimate friends with Jesus. There are multiple stories of them. Like it says, Lazarus is the one that Jesus raised from the dead, one of his best friends. But there are multiple instances where we read about Mary that we constantly find her in one position and in one place when she gets around him. That no matter the circumstances, no matter what's been required of her, no matter what's been asked of her or what's going on at the time, we consistently and constantly find Mary where? At the feet of Jesus. In a humble humility, the posture of someone who is fully given themselves to Christ. Sacrifice, surrender. And so the question for you and I this morning is my life fully given to him? Is my life one where I am constantly finding myself at the feet of Jesus? That when times are rough, when times are good, that when things make sense, when they don't, am I finding myself at the feet of Jesus? So I'd love for you to bow your heads this morning. And I just want to take a moment because I think that question has to be asked. Is my life a full sacrifice to him? Is my life one that, like I said, I find myself at the feet of Jesus? Because as we talked about last week, he is the King of Kings. And what we see this week is he is the Holy of Holies. And if we honor him and if we see him as worthy of these things, then it would be one that says, God, then you can have it all. So would you ask God to search you? Is there things that I am still withholding? I would ask you to ask him to search you, that God, is my life one that is found at your feet? In a humble, submissive space, saying, God, this is about you. No matter the circumstances, no matter the issues, no matter the trials, no matter the joy, whatever it might be, God, I am finding myself at your feet. So God, we say thank you for you. Thank you, God, that you're a good God. That you are the King of Kings. You are the Holy of Holies, that you are worthy of it all, God. Would our life be one of sacrifice that would be obvious, that when people see what's different, they would say, man, I want to know, and the answer is easy, it's you. That's the difference in our lives, God. So would we live in full surrender, would you have it all? Because you're worthy of it. So God, we love you. We thank you. We pray that everything we do would be honoring and glorifying to you in your name. Amen.
We love you guys. We hope you have a great week. Be safe, and we hope to see you next Sunday. You are dismissed.